Okay, welcome to tonight's leadership call. We have a really special guest on tonight. Her name is Joelle Suess, and it's not Suess.
I'm so proud of you.
Well, yeah, I'm your biggest fan, by the way.
Oh gosh.
My very first Super Saturday is when I got to meet Joelle, and I probably didn't even introduce myself in person because I was too nervous and scared and intimidated, and I was so excited to go to my first Super Saturday was in Fargo on October, whenever the last one was in October. And I know Rose was always pushing me to go to a Super Saturday, and I was like, I have to drive like 2.5 hours, like I do not want to go. And then finally I just decided to go, and I was at the point of my business where I was either going to quit or else I need to figure it out and like get going with it. And I almost did quit until I went to your Super Saturday, and that's kind of when I got my jazz to like start again. And seriously, ever since then, like I have been on fire and really passionate about it. And so like you totally inspired me, and you proved that North Dakota isn't this like hideaway state. We can like actually kick ass and and totally rock this business. So you are a 9-star diamond and an elite coach, right? Too?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so Joelle is here tonight to give us some tips on leadership, and I'm so excited.
I'm super excited. You guys are the bomb. I'm so pumped that this is like small. We're hanging out together. So if first off, my Zoom is psychotic. So if I freeze and my connection goes out, I'll click out and log right back in. And we'll try that like 3 times, and then I'll cover all my stuff. But let me know, interrupt if it's like, oh, it's in and out or something like that, and I'll turn my hotspot on or something. But talking about leadership, like I really think it's cool that it's just us hanging out. And if you guys have specific questions at the end, like we can even nix the recording towards the end, and we can have some heart-to-heart, like one-on-one conversation time, because leadership often feels lonely. It often feels like, in everything in life, there's ups and downs, and to have an area where it's open and okay to talk about that, but then also having it be reflected back to positivity is really important. So I'm going to talk to you guys about leadership and longevity in this business. I've been a coach for 5.5 years now, and Alicia, it's kind of hilarious to me that Super Saturday reignited you, because the other girls were like, Joelle, you talk too long and you bored people. And I was like, dang, I'm so glad you didn't feel that way. Some of the other ladies were like, you were talking too much. So sometimes I can go off on tangent. I have notes down here to prevent me from doing that tonight. But leadership and longevity. I've been a coach for over 5 years now. I didn't start, you hear on like the National Wake Up Call, coaches who started their business and went like 5-star in a year or 15-star in a year and a half to 2. And that has not been my case. I'm still working on my 15-star goal. I went emerald in 90 days, and I went diamond around 6 months. And I was doing my power hour consistently every single day through that time. So my first month as a coach, I was working with no paycheck. And now I continue to do the same things every day that I started my business, and then adding some in as you become a leader. You take on a little bit more projects, which are really fun, and I can share with you guys some of the things that are staples for me to do monthly as a leader, and things that I had to let go of because they were causing me frustration and stress. And just being real and honest with you guys of leadership and longevity in this business. After 2.5 years, I quit my full-time job. And when I started off coaching, I was in school full-time and working a full-time job. So I added this into my day, and I worked from like 5 in the morning to 6:30 in the morning. And made it work. I wish I would have hit that goal in 1 year, but it ended up being 2.5. And it's still worth it to always push through your goals. Just like I've been a coach for 5.5 years, I still will and always push for that 15 star as I grow. So leadership and longevity, my first and number one tip is you must be your own best coach. Meaning you have to be the best coach even when the spotlight's not on you, even when, you're having a bad day, and even when you don't feel like it, you are the example. And even if your team isn't watching you in that moment, one of my mentors, Mindy Wender, said to me not to me directly, but on a team call when I was a new coach, she said, pretend that your webcam is a looking glass into what your team is watching you. And if others did that, would they be successful? So if somebody on your team duplicated exactly what you did today, would they be successful? And if I look at my day and what I did today, I have a notebook system that I use to track. This is on the Misfit Republic YouTube channel. So if you search in YouTube, Misfit Republic notebook, this should pop up right away how I use this. But today, I sent out 5 happy birthday messages to people. I talked to 3 new people on Instagram, 1 new person I really got to know in my due date group. I know Facebook groups is hard to add people in, but I go deep, not wide. I'm not looking to add 10 psychos from a Facebook group. I'm looking to add 1 gem that's like me, right? So connected with 1. I talked to 1 person about a sneak peek. I sent a What is Coaching recorded video that I had to 1 girl, and invited a girl who said no to my challenge group what was last month? April? Yep. April. And I just checked in with her and was like, hey, I just put you on the list for May. And then I added that to the calendar. I got back to other inbox messages where I was just forming people. And then I listened to the National Wake Up Call. So I look at my day. I'm hopping on here with you guys. I did my personal development. I went and did my workout. I drank my Shakeology. I look at my day and I'm like, you know what? No, I didn't invite 100 people or 50 people or some crazy amount, but I'm still really proud of what I did. And if my team did that every day for the next year, they'd move mountains in their business, their personal life, and their physical life. So you are your best coach. And always understand, you guys, that you can be the most perfect upline. I mean, I look up to Mindy Wender so much. She is my top dog always. Why? Because she's so down to earth. She just has a heart of gold. She's, you guys, we're Midwest. We have a badass work ethic. We are gonna rise. The Midwest is gonna rise in this company because we have work ethics like no other. I mean, farming community, you know how hard they work to reap that season of harvest. And our business is the same. 2.5 years it took me to build. It took me 3.5 to hit 6 figures, but it was freaking worth it. Was it hard work that 3.5 years? Absolutely, but it was worth it. But always know the 80-20 rule. The 80-20 rule is there, and it's something that's just how the cookie crumbles. And if you're looking at your downline and you're like, okay, I have 10 or 15 personally sponsored coaches, and really only 2 to 3 or 1 to 2 of them are working, be proud of that team, because that's the 80-20 rule. If you have 10 coaches and you have 3 that are really working, you be super proud of yourself and be like, I am beating so many odds. It's the same with my diamonds. I mean, I have around 100 active personally sponsored coaches right now, but in a given week, 7, 8, maybe 9 of them are holding diamond when there's 10 that are lifetime. So it's something that as a leader, I do take responsibility for leading my team, but also, okay, so you guys are from small towns. You guys might relate to this. I don't even have this on my notes, but I'm feeling like I really need to talk about this. In the beginning of this year, yeah, I was in my first trimester of pregnancy, but I always try to prove when you're going through a hard time, you can work hard still and still like emotionally take care of yourself. And I, you know, November, December, January, February was really hard for me. I usually add 3 to 5 coaches per month. And in those months, I was adding maybe 1 or 2. And I'm like, what is going on? So I work with a life coach, business coach, every so often. Her name is Michelle Simmons. She's from Australia, so it's really funny. She thinks my accent's hysterical, and I think hers is hysterical. But I was talking to her, and I'm like, dude, I feel like there's a block. Like, I don't think it's just my first trimester of pregnancy. I don't think it was just the holidays. There's something going on. And we dug down deep, and she's like, okay, well, what would scare you if tomorrow 50 people come to you and say, give me your link, I want to sign up? And I'm like, it's not really systems, because I feel like I have good systems in place, which is always my number one tip in leadership. Have good systems in place. But I was like, you know what? I can think of a handful of people that I knew prior to coaching. They were like, I mean, I can be real with you guys. It was my sister-in-law. It was a friend I met through my husband, a friend I met through college, and one of my cousins that joined as coaches. And I want this life for them, a life where I'm not stressing about the bills. I'm not frustrated because I have to work on a Saturday. I want this life for them, but they're not doing it for themselves. And I was carrying that weight on my shoulder. Like, did I fail them as an upline? Did I not give them what they needed? And what my life coach said is, like, we have to be the person that gives people the tools. So when people come to us with a question, we give them a nail. If they come to us, we give them a hammer. Or if they come to us, we give them a hammer. We give them a 2x4. But they have to be the ones to put that together. So if you can be proud as a leader of what you have to offer, the systems you have in place, and not that you need to know everything, but dude, if you know how to Google or find the FAQs, you're set for leadership, because you can direct them to the answers. And if you are proud of that, then you should understand, like, it's a 50-50 relationship. Anybody who comes into your business needs to know straight off the back, I give you the tools, you are the builder. I will always follow through on the tools because I trust in myself. I believe in myself. I'm confident in my vision that I have for this business. Like, you guys are all leaders. You know you're going to be around. Like, you can be, if you know that, and if you're like, I don't care if it takes me 3 years, 5 years, or 10 years to hit that goal, I'm still going for it. You can be confident just in that and be like, I'm going to be around in this. Like, it's not going to be me, you know? So that's kind of one thing, as be your best coach. You know, if one of our diamond leaders that has been struggling for like a year and a half now, she says she constantly heard that. Like, if you want your team to recruit, you have to recruit. If you want your team to hit Success Club, you have to share with them that you're hitting Success Club. And she just heard that and heard that and heard that. And the last 2 months, she's implemented that into her business. She started recruiting, and her team has grown by 6 in the last week or month. I can't remember what she had said, but that's how the snowball effect happens. And since uncovering that deep fear that I had of I failed those people as a leader, because I knew them prior to coaching. Most of my coaches I meet off social media. After that, I added, not even to like pat myself on the back, you guys, because I had a lot of catching up to do for January and February for elite points, but I added 8 coaches to my team in that short time frame after talking to her. So one thing as a leader, we really need to understand and teach to our teams that most people come into this business and we have an hourly working mindset. We know that we show up to a job for a certain amount of hours, we're going to get paid X amount. And that's how majority of people come into this business thinking. So they work for 1 or 2 weeks and they see that paycheck of 0 and they get frustrated and they want to give up and they feel defeated. But if you can really start talking to your team about investment working, that this business is investment working, meaning the work you do today is not going to show up in your paycheck on Thursday. It's going to show up 3 to 6 months from now. And that's why every day matters in your business. Every single day matters in your business. And when you take that, and you guys are leaders, so I'm not meaning to like feel lectury, but think about how you can relay this to your own coaches. But when they come to you and they're like, I've been working, and I'm just not, people aren't saying yes to me, you can tell them like, what you do today is going to pay off 3 to 6 months from now. And what you did 3 to 6 months ago is what's showing up in your paycheck this week. Is that what you're seeing in your Coach Online office? And when I ask them that, they're like, oh yeah, I was doing nothing 3 to 6 months ago. And that's why this business entrepreneurship is different than hourly working. But what's the best thing about that is it snowballs and grows over time. In the beginning, you do a lot for a little. And I know that hustle in the beginning, you guys. And hustle meaning working hard in a small time frame, not digging yourself into the ground and neglecting all the other areas in your life trying to get this business to work. You can do it all, but not all at once. So if you have other things where you're like, I host this for my church and I am on this, softball league in the summer, it might be a year or 2 of you to say, I can't do this at this time because it's not a priority, because building your business is. I think of Scotty Hobbs. He shared that story of him like giving up his softball league stuff. And he's like, now I could sponsor 3 teams if I wanted to. And if I would have stayed in that habit of like softball and drinking and whatever through the summers instead of working on his business, would he be in a different spot? Absolutely. Because what we do today pays off 3, 6 months from now, even a year. So that investment working versus hourly working. And I really think a great book for new coaches and new upcoming leaders is The Entrepreneur Roller Coaster by Darren Hardy. It really takes you from that mental mind shift of like, you're used to being an hourly worker to now you're an entrepreneur. And there's a difference in the mindset of that. But we aren't. Schools tell kids get jobs, and everything's based off of hourly. My third tip for you guys is time management equals life management. And this is where we can get really, really chaotic at times, because as you're growing your team, you may feel like they're demanding more of your time, or maybe even just adding and growing your team bigger gives you guys a little bit of fear. We have close to 6,000 coaches on Misfit Republic now. And once you start really managing your time well and doing things like Facebook Live in groups, game changer. This is one of the coolest things that I offer for my new coach training group, my big team page group, and my personally sponsored is doing Facebook Live feeds. And we interact on there, and sometimes Zoom is intimidating to a new coach because they don't want to see themselves on the screen. And doing things like that where it's a lot of group stuff. I have all my diamonds, like you guys are on here all at once. Like this is gold. This really is. This is the best use of your time when it comes to training and Zooms and things like that. We also have a very strong community on our team, but I also see a lot of coaches wasting time in the community. And I know that sounds bad, but what I mean is they're not inviting, like the core of this business is doing the activities yourself and inviting people along to go with you. And third is the duplication, simplifying it for your team. Because the more you do it, you'll be like, oh, this is how we simplify, this is how we simplify. But if you see so many people get caught up in doing too many Zooms, and they're doing 6 Zooms a week, or like 3 Zooms and 3 team calls. And I'm like, that's 6 hours worth of working that you missed out on. And as a leader, they feel like, oh, it's something I need to be doing to learn more and learn more. But really, the person who implements the most will always rise the fastest. I mean, it's just how it goes. You fit this business into your life and don't let it run you. Really understand that you guys are boutique owners. You're not 24-hour Walmarts. And turn off the notifications on your phone. I had a friend over who's a star diamond coach, and she was talking to me about how her husband was like getting frustrated with the business, and she's like, well, it's making money for us now. I don't understand why he's so frustrated. And as she was at my house, her phone was going off, ding, 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 ding. And I'm like, no wonder why he's going batshit crazy. Like, that's driving me nuts. And even though she wasn't necessarily responding to all of them, it was like a demand on her time, and she'd just check it and be like, oh, and that's still like disconnected from the conversation. As soon as I made her, I was like, turn them off. As soon as I made her turn off the notifications on her phone, she really felt like she could breathe. She now has inbox time, she calls it, at 9 a.m. and sometime in the afternoon, 3 or 4. And those are the times she gets to her inbox. And this always couples with people saying like, well, what if I lose a customer over that? I would then ask and do some work on fear of lack. Because, yeah, somebody might order from teambeachbody.com, but if we find out about that within the first 24 hours, we can get it taken care of through the contact us button on the Coach Online Office, and we can direct them. So I think that once you really get to know your schedule, work with your teams on their schedule if they're not good at time management, like having them sit down with something that looks like a day designer. I don't know if you guys have this. It's basically just like there's the time of the day on one side, and it's just, it says 5 a.m., 6 a.m., 7 a.m. And I have them fill it out. Like, when do you wake up? When are you getting your kids ready? When are you at your job? When do you take your lunch break? Do you have stuff going on? And then I look at it and I'm like, well, dude, you could totally wake up at 5:30 in the morning and do your power hour. And if they come at me with an excuse of like, oh, that's so early, I'm like, I did it for 2.5 years, my friend. Or if they're a night owl, I'm like, you can do it at 9 p.m. Or you get a full hour for your lunch break, girl, just pack a salad and get to work. Like, take back that time. Or stay-at-home moms, they say like, my kids nap at around this time, but that's when I do laundry and dishes and pick up toys. And I'm like, well, if you let that mess be there, and when your child wakes up again, is it really going to matter if you did the dishes or cleaned? And they're like, no, but you're not a mom. And I'm like, but I know kids. I know that it doesn't look cleaned up by 4 o'clock. If you cleaned it up at 10 a.m., I know that. And that's because I was once a child. I remember. So life management and time management is very important. And when you are talking with your teams, and if they aren't willing to manage their life and manage their time, that's there for us to kind of call them out on it. Pregnancy has given me a little bit more bluntness with my team, but you want to know something? They love it, guys. They're like, I needed to hear that. I needed somebody to say, like, oh, I know you're tired, but you're wanting this business to work. So why are you skipping your power hour for weeks? And whereas before I'd be like, oh, it's your business. You can do what you want. It's up to you. And they prefer it. Even though our Midwest nice says, like, don't offend anybody, but we can be nice and just say, I understand you have a crazy busy schedule, but if you don't want this crazy busy schedule the rest of your life, why are you giving your crazy busy schedule the time of day and not your business? So time management is life management. And as leaders, really understanding, like, it's okay for you to be selfish with taking care of yourself too. I know as leaders, we feel like we have to make our schedules convenient for our new coaches and for our other coaches and this and that and this and that. And for the longest time, I was trying to find the perfect timing to have my diamond Zooms. And I just had to throw my hands up in the air and be like, you know what, guys, this is the time that works for me. If you really want my diamond one-on-one brainstorming time, make it work in your schedule at least once a month. And since then, they have done it and they've respected it. And I respect their time and they respect mine. I'm not saying get on every single one, but really thinking of things to best manage your time. Even going back and scheduling my like page posts at least one a day has saved me so much time. I used to think like I have to be so organic with my posts, and I want to be organic. I do, but some days I'm like, I can't think of 3 posts. And so if I at least have one scheduled, it works out. You know, I'm still there and present. There's days, especially when I was in my first trimester of pregnancy, there were days I felt really motivated and I made the most of it and scheduled 2 posts on my like page because I knew the next day I was probably going to be feeling like crap. And I made that work. You just manage your life, manage your time, and you think of like what is becoming a time sucker to me and my energy, and then how can you simplify it? And if you don't know how, you can reach out to a upline, a Star Diamond upline, me, or a success partner and say, I don't want you to be like, oh, it's okay to feel this way. I want you to like genuinely give me advice from the outside, because oftentimes like we talk about these problems or like these situations, but we close ourselves off to people who have an inside look and just like, oh, well, why don't you just do it this way? And you're like, oh, no, that's not going to work because I just want to stick with the problem. But if you're open and you're like, okay, I'm going to try that for a week. I don't know if it's going to work or not. One of the things that was really like time sucking and draining on me was push groups. I was just not enjoying them. I hate the word push. I don't want to work with people for a short amount of time, then work hard, and then fall off. So that's why I always am talking about consistency. So instead of doing push groups, what I do is I'll often do some type of group, but we're working together in a different sense, meaning they can, like, I'm giving attention to the people who are the 20%ers. I'm not like begging people who are on a particular leg to start working. And I'd much rather add a new coach and get them excited to start off and to be in Power Hour. And okay, this is what we do. When we're a coach, we go for Success Club, and the first goal we strive for is Emerald, rather than going to somebody that used to be Emerald and be like, hey, what are you doing with your business now? So I really looked at what drains my energy. How can I best do time management? I already covered consistently do the basics. I mean, even as a leader, you guys, I'm talking with people in Facebook groups. I'm adding to my network. I am doing all the things that people suggest for new coaches. I just add in some leadership stuff. If I read something in my personal development, I'll share it with my team. I do more Zooms because I do have the time for that. But if I was still working a full-time job, I'd best use my time and schedule based on the time I can give my business. And then also, this is my last tip for you guys, so we can go into any topics if you have like, what would you do in this situation, or what would you do with this type of coach? My last tip is add to your own skill and value. After you've been in this business for 5+ years, sometimes it feels like running groups all the time, or hitting Success Club, or adding to your network, or talking to people about the business feels repetitive and gets kind of blah at times. So what do you do in those moments? And I think a lot of people would refer to them as funks. What do you do when you're in a funk? Challenge yourself and learn and grow through it. So what I mean by that is always stay consistent in your Power Hour, in inviting. But maybe add to your skills, like a Facebook like page training, or Smart Success, or Marketing Impact. I've gone to Brendan Burchard events, Tony Robbins events. There's actually quite a bit local in Fargo. If you search like women's conferences, there's usually one or two a year. The cities, I don't know how long of a drive that would be for you guys. There's some in Bismarck. You don't hear about them unless you're looking for them, you know? Like I didn't realize it either until I met a girl that's all about, she's an insurance salesman, and she's all about local stuff. And so she goes to all these things and she tells me about them, and like, no clue. I had no clue all this stuff. And she's like, well, you weren't looking for local stuff. You were looking for things in California and in Texas and in Florida. So of course that's what you're finding. So adding to your own skill and value. And a lot of courses can do that. I love online courses. I'm such a self-motivated person. Like, I definitely don't need somebody telling me, Joelle, did you do your Power Hour today? Like, I got it on my own. I don't need somebody checking in on me like that. So when I purchase an online course, I put it in my scheduler. Like, usually 3 to 4 o'clock, I'm listening to something I purchased. Like, I've purchased Marie Forleo's Copy Cure. And that's about writing and engaging people via your copy, which would be like your blog or your social media posts or whatever. I've never been to Smart Success Live. I just got it and watched it. I have a bunch of, what's her name? Sarah Robbins audios. I've done Danny Johnson stuff. I've done a lot of furthering my education and skill. And probably the next thing that I do will be public speaking, because I can get on here and like talk with you guys informally. But if somebody were to ask me, like, would you speak at Summit or would you speak on the National Light Call? I'd panic and be like, oh, I need better public speaking skills. So I'll probably do that next. And when you challenge yourself and you learn and you grow through it and you be creative, you know, maybe sometimes I really love working on a project that I think would be a great system for me, and just not caring like how Melanie Mitro's doing it, how so-and-so doing it, how is this person doing it, how's that person doing it. It's like I ask myself, how does Joelle want to do this? Like my sneak peek groups. I thought about it and I'm like, okay, I'm going to sit down. How would I like, as a participant, being in it? Would I like a 7-day? No, that's too long. I want 2 days. And some people are like, no, I want 1 hour or whatever. It's different for everybody, but it really sparked my own creativity. So I think because that sparked my own creativity, my passion went into it. Once I completed it, I tested it, and it's been working for me because the people who are participating see that it's a template. Like, obviously, I'll look at, like, after I think of how I want it to be, I'll maybe, like, listen to a few people how they run theirs, but I go with mine. And I know, like, don't reinvent the wheel, but in a sense, if you're in a funk and you want to do something a little different and quirky, do it. You know, I just saw everybody does clean eating groups, and I just saw Jen Richardson post about doing a 5-day healthy takeout remix healthy group. And I'm like, so smart. She's probably going to do, like, I thought about that, and I didn't think of how does she do it. I think, like, how would I do that? I do like a Chinese recipe with like a chicken fried quinoa I make. I would do like a burrito bowl. I would do healthy chicken nuggets or something like that. And I think about like, oh, that's a great idea. How would I implement it? I don't think, you know what I mean? So if you ever feel like you are in a funk, ask yourself, what can you do to grow as either, maybe it's focusing on a season of leadership. I know Dave Ramsey has entree leadership stuff in the cities. There's a lot of stuff in the cities that are really cool live events. And when you step out of Beachbody, your eyes really open up. Like, you think about, okay, how can I apply this to my business? And it gets your creative wheels going, and do things with your own twist. So I kind of talked about that with like free clean eating groups or free groups in general. I know for a while my free group was on intermittent fasting. Has nothing to do with Beachbody. Beachbody I don't think endorses intermittent fasting or knows what it is, but it was just something I was doing. And I just was like, this is how I would do it if I hosted this type of a group. And I had a lot of fun with that. Have I done one since I've been pregnant? No. But I know that it brought me joy for that season and got me out of a funk of, that was when like I was wanting to add more people to my network, because I stopped doing my power hour for like a year and was like, why do I have nobody new to talk to? Oh, it's because you weren't doing the small steps, Joelle, to add to your network. So do you guys have any questions or comments on leadership and longevity? Fears?
Let's see, a couple questions.
Mm-hmm.
First one, where did you find your like your personal coach?
I found her. How did we find her? I think Andrea found her through somebody who told her about her, and it was just kind of like a through and through. I read a lot of reviews on her, because there are a couple like that, like Rachel Luna is another awesome one. Rachel Luna was a little bit too tough love for me in the moment of what I needed. So I looked into like whatever. I'll type their names in the chat right now so that it's easier for you to look up. Michelle's is, and Michelle's is just her name.com. Her sessions are an hour long. They're $125, but I kid you not, her sessions have shortcutted me years of therapy. She does tapping, which was so weird to me, being from a conservative Midwest.
I don't even know what that is.
It's just basically affirmations, and you're touching parts of your body, but it's just like super empowering. And then Rachel Luna, I'm not sure if she's accepting new clients, but hey, if she's not, you just ask her, like, who could you refer me to? Googling life coaches, but Michelle probably is the one that I will go back to and go back to and go back to. She doesn't really go into social media. She goes into a lot of like our fears. Her main thing is she wants her clients to feel empowered to take action after they get off the call. And I'm like, dude, that's exactly how I feel. We solve problems together, and I feel on top of the world when I'm done talking with her. So you can just buy one session and you can decide if it's worth it or not. But I'll promise you, you'll be like, that was super cool.
And how often do you do them, like personally for yourself?
Good question. That's a really good question. I had my first one with her September. I buy the packages of 3. So I did September, and I did 3 weeks in September. And then I didn't meet with her again until February. And then I did 3 weeks again. It must have been March, actually. So and since like we got to that rut of my recruiting, I just feel like that's when you know you found somebody good, because she caters to you, and she's not like, okay, you're going to buy a 6-week program, and here's exactly what I do with everybody else that I work with. And systems are good for business owners, but it's just in that moment when you're like one-on-one Skyping with somebody, you want their real raw attention, and you get that with Michelle.
Cool. Awesome. I like that. Because I was going to do like Tony Robbins has like life coaches too. But she sounds like someone that would be good for me. So
if you're really into intuitive and into like stepping out of your comfort zone, like she won't talk about like social media. She won't talk about those types of things. She'll talk or branding. She'll talk about personal. Like she gets down there. Like one time she was like, I feel like you have a lot of resentment towards a car, and she described this like specific car, and I was like, oh my god, like one of my ex-boyfriends drove that car and he broke up with me. Like I was like, this is just weird. Like she's very intuitive. She's a faith-based person, but she really like it's really kind of cool. I love it.
Cool. I don't know what my other question was. Does anyone else have any other questions? Thank you.
I have to say that was awesome. We are not all from the Midwest on this call either, so I'm sure some people were like, driving to the cities, what does that mean?
The Twin Cities, yeah.
Actually, Rose is from New Jersey, and Haley is from Florida. Shannon, you're from North Carolina. So there's quite a few, and actually Rose is my upline. So, but anyway, I was just going to ask you, I know I've tried to describe how North Dakota people are to Rose, but like, you know, it's hard to describe how North Dakota people are. But how do you like recruit North Dakota people? Like, I feel I get a lot of kind of recruiters from my like page, but not as many from the state of North Dakota, because we are all so German, you know, if that makes sense. Like, how do you convince these people over their mental block that they have up here? And then my second question is for me, I've been hitting Success Club since December very consistently, but this month I just feel like I'm at Success Club 2 right now, and I feel like I'm kind of getting no's in every direction. So how do you kind of get over that fear of like not hitting Success Club and like being stressed out about it? Because I want to definitely go for like the All-Star this year. So kind of what are your tips on that?
Yeah, good questions. First, you be the example. In 5 years, it'll like boil over and you gain. It's kind of like the Facebook post I made earlier today, where if you tell somebody your goal and they laugh at you or they give you criticism, you stop talking about your goal to them and show them with your work. You know, keep sending thankful, positivity things to have that be your gratitude. Like when you recruit one coach, be so grateful for that coach no matter where they live. I honestly think it's so fun meeting new people, new era, because I just think of like social media, and it's, you know, we never meet each other if it wasn't here and present. But for our area, you really got to work and let your actions shine and have that just be it, because it's our area. They are stubborn, but they can't be stubborn when they see you rising and succeeding, and be very proud of like yourself and where you've gone, because we often try to hide our success or try to dumb down our accomplishments so we don't make other people feel bad, when in reality it's okay to be thankful for and talk about in a place of gratitude the things you are going for and accomplishing. And Midwest is hard workers. We're gonna get ourselves on the map, but it's gonna take a little bit more time. But be thankful for the coaches you're adding, and don't stress about building a local team. Like for 3 years in Fargo, our Super Saturdays was like 15 people, you know, and we're still very small. And people are like, "Oh, you're a 9-star 2-time elite. How come you don't have hundreds of people coming to your Super Saturday?" And I'm like, "Because my team's not here. And I'm okay with that," you know? And then secondly, if you start letting that fear of, I'm not going to hit, dude, we got a lot of time left in this month. Like, I don't know why you're so stressing. Like, we've got a lot of time left to hit Success Club. And so what I would do is I'd sit down with like a month calendar, and I would put things into place leading up to the end of the month that will solidify Success Club. Meaning, I had a sneak peek next week. What is coaching live webinar planned for, you know, a few days after the sneak peek. So then that way, like, I know the 3rd or 4th Monday in May, I have things to invite people to. Because oftentimes if we don't have something to invite people to, like a challenge group start date or a new coach training start date, and in a season when you're like, I am hitting Success Club to get all-star status, you know, if you host 2 a month, you do that because you're trying to hit that goal. And maybe adding like that last tip I gave, like, you know, is there a skill or a value that you could create towards the end of the month that would make you very excited to invite new people to, you know, whether, like, if you haven't done the My Challenge Tracker app, dude, start talking about that and how this is going to be your first challenge group ran via its own app, not in Facebook. Like, I did that last month, and I got 2 new clients from it, but some of my old clients were like, I want in on that. And I, of course, was like, heck yeah, because I want them to, even though they purchased from me a while ago, I want them to still, and I'm going to host it for these 2 new people anyway, so I might as well have more people in it. But that was really exciting to see, like, that was new, it was fun. I took a little time for me to figure out my challenge tracker, but once I did, it helped out a lot. So I would just look at the month, because we have a lot left in it, and put into place some things where, like, on this date, so like on the 17th, I'm going to have a sneak peek. So you have like a whole week to invite to that sneak peek, over a week or whatever, and know that that's what you're going to be inviting to, because oftentimes, and this can go to new coaches too that you guys are mentoring, they're just talking to people about joining a challenge group, but the challenge group doesn't have a date, it doesn't have a beginning, it doesn't have an end. That'd be like saying, like, hey, we're going to have a barbecue. Want to come over? And people would be like, okay, well, when? What time? Like, I'm not coming over unless you give me the details. And we still have to do that with our inviting. it's always best to have something to invite to. So if we were on the last few days of the month, I would definitely say on the last few days of the month, I have thrown up a 30-day, I think I call it a 21-day, no, maybe I call it 30-day, a 30-day money back guarantee challenge. And that's all I talk about. And I lead with getting their money back. And it seems to always work for me if I have to get 1 or 2 Success Club points by the end of the month. But that's what I do last resort on the last 2 days. And I'm like, and it's ending, like, this, even though we know that our 30-day policy doesn't end, but I'm just working on my goals, like.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you. I know for me, I'm just so much of a notebook person. Like, I totally agree with you. Like, I am so much more of a write it down person than like computer. I know some people, it just depends on the person. But I also wanted to really thank you for doing your Misfit podcast all the time. Like, I'm a faithful listener. I have a 40-minute commute one way to work every day. So I listen to that like all the time. So thanks for like having that for other coaches and teams to listen to.
Yeah. The Misfit podcast, Misfit YouTube channel, it's all there just to help the whole Team Beachbody community, because Team Beachbody is one of the greatest blessings God has given me ever. Like, just, it's been God is the provider, but he's using this company to bless so many, especially women in this country, gaining back confidence and using a lot of people's talents and gifts through this business. So I love the podcast so much too. There's going to be a really good one going up tomorrow on sharing your story that one of our 2 stars, Jenny Ryerson, is doing, and she's the bomb.
I also just thought of another question. So I know you guys talk a lot about your Misfit planner. I was talking to Rose about this earlier. Like, what do you all include in there? Like, what is the big secret?
Sure.
Like,
It's really not a secret. I'll show it to you. I can't give it to you, but I can kind of walk through it. And it's just like a PDF type of thing. I paid to get it bound and spiraled for myself because I'm selfish like that. And the first page is just for a new coach. And we hired somebody off Elance to make it look pretty, so don't give me or anybody credit for that. But it just goes over, like, the first page is welcome, your coach ID, there's a blank spot for them to fill that in, your website. So I have them, this is what I do with like a new coach. It's a lot like the 7-day quick start guide. It's just that, like, your sponsor's name, your sponsor's phone number, here's coach relations number, here's the here's like a tip, and it just says stay in contact with your sponsor as you complete your new coach training. Rely on your instincts and be a great researcher. Always find an answer to your question by Googling or using team pages. If you can't find it, then ask your sponsor. Like, we just sat down and we're like, okay, as a new coach, what could we give to somebody that would feel like they could use it kind of like a workbook? You know what I mean? And then there's kind of like a new coach checklist. So I know a lot of you guys probably already have this created. We just put it in the PDF to make it look pretty, and I didn't even do that. So it's like, get on Shakeology Home Direct. Like, basically, what would you make a checklist for new coaches to do? Create your Team Beachbody profile. Be a product of the product. Book your first phone call with your sponsor. And that's when I know if they follow this or not, because if they don't book it with me, I'm like, well, you didn't do part of your checklist, so that's your fault. And then it just gives, like, commit to listening to the National Wake Up Call, and have fun. That's it. And then there's 3 pages. Then we did a page on Success Club. we did like a diamond outline where they can just fill it in. So this is really, I mean, this is on our Misfit Republic YouTube channel too, so that's why I'm showing it. But it like has the little emerald and then fill it into diamond, because we had so many people just go to emerald and be like, stay at emerald. And so once we did that and we're like, okay, you go through that next. And then the last pages are, they look like the day designer. I hope we don't get in trouble for that. But like the day designer has like the to-do section and then the time. This has the time and to-do section, but we filled it in as power hour. So anything that you have on your power hour or vital behaviors or something like that, it's just on, so like the scheduler part is on the left and then the checklist part is on the right. And it basically just says your new coach homework, workout and Shakeology, personal development, 10 pages or 10 minutes, respond to messages and emails, check your online office for new alerts, check team page for support, like just trying to get people involved and engaged in that community, and then add 3 people on Facebook, message 3 people and like form them, or hey girl, how are you, however your team talks about it. Invite 3 people to your challenge group, follow up with 3 people, talk to 3 people about the business. And it's just kind of like check mark based. And then there's just a little section for like personal to-dos, because we have lives too, you know, like we gave them a little bit of space for that. And it's just something, it's not a full, like I think we give them like 14 pages of it. That's why you guys saw me like scrolling through it, because I was kind of like, what's all in here again? That is, it just became about when we were like, we have these new coach emails and they're fugly. And we wanted to make something pretty that had like, because it makes it different, as silly as it sounds. Like we literally probably paid somebody $5 to make the first, like it came about because we made a new coach checklist and we're like, this is ugly. Like we should pay somebody to make it into a pretty PDF. And then the pages just started coming to life. And then we were like, oh, smush it together into one PDF and call it a planner. So if you guys have, like that was one thing where that was tip number 4, add to your own skill and value. Like it was something that was like on our hearts and we just implemented it. We are still doing our own power hours, but we spent a little time like thinking about, or I spent a little time, or Andrew's, like I know Andrea Crowder, she's my personally sponsored top coach and my success partner. We talk about like she does projects for her team that I don't, and because she gets like a fire in her belly to do it and she goes. And then there's sometimes where like I really, really, really was into doing live power hour. And she was like, nah, that doesn't sound fun to me. And I'm like, that's okay, I got this. Like I'm pumped up on doing this and then making it into a system. So divide and conquer. You know, if you have a coach that kills it with social media, you know, really, or if you kill it with social media, systemize it. You know, like think about how do I plan my posts? What apps do I use? And you could make that into like a 3-part or 5-part video series. Make a team YouTube channel. Yahtzee lives there forever for your team. And then you'll think it's fun too, because you'll be doing your power hour, kind of the mundane, unsexy stuff sometimes, but you're adding in something fun like that. And don't hesitate to use Elance. I know, like, or Odesk or whatever it's called now. I think it's called Odesk now, but don't hesitate to like utilize people that will do cheap graphic design work for you and be very good at it. Like I even had for a while I was wanting to create a freemium, as Shalene calls it. And I was just like so sick of people being like, having other coaches. Like, I love 21 Day Fix in the sense of people pick their own damn food. Because what if somebody doesn't like broccoli, but there's other coaches out there, health coaches out there, that'll be like, oh, have broccoli for meal 4. And like, you need to ask that person if they like broccoli. So I created something called Make Your Plate. And it's just basically saying, like, step 1, write down all the healthy foods you like. Fruits, name the healthy fruits you like. Vegetables, name the healthy vegetables you like. And then page 2 is like, how can you make those into meals? For example, if you like rice and chicken and bell peppers and salsa, you can make an awesome burrito bowl or something like that, you know? And it was another fun project that was like adding to my own skill, to my own value. I often just give it to my customers for free. I don't have it as a freemium thing yet because I haven't figured that out. I should, but yeah, our Misfit Planner has hype around it, and it's pretty awesome, but it's real basic.
All right, well, thank you so much. I have to run, but I really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, it's nice to meet you, Rose.
Thanks. Nice to meet you, too.
Hope to see you at Summit.
Yeah, totally.
Bye. Thank you so much.
Bye, Haley.